Can it be closed? She doesn't like anyone knowing her heart. Closed. Silver Wolf said. At this time, Yin Tianling was thinking about what Silver Wolf just said about being able to return to Earth. Can the system really cross time and space and return to Earth? Yes, as long as the master becomes a queen and the system is upgraded to the highest level, it's fine. Silver Wolf replied. She was silent, thinking about the feasibility of this method. She has no sense of belonging to this unfamiliar era. Even if she is an orphan when she returns to Earth, she still wants to return to Earth. In that case, why didn't she try? What should I do? Yin Lang was overjoyed, and Yin Tianling still felt incredible with his humane expression. Master, do you want to start performance evaluation? Turn on. Silver Wolf's eyes flickered a few times. Performance evaluation has been activated, and the host's performance is as follows: physical skill level D, mental power level C, ability not activated, charm E level. Comprehensive evaluation, poor. Yin Tianling waited for Silver Wolf to explain to her what this assessment was. The master's current era is based on mental power and physical power as the basic evaluation. There are 7 levels of physical skills and spiritual power, 3s, 2s, S, A, B, C, and D. The second one is the target, the last 2 are the abolishment. And the ability users cannot use this rating table, they are born noble. Then that means, I'm useless. This conclusion made her a little concerned. When on Earth, she was a leader in the mercenary world, and in the interstellar age, she turned out to be a waste. Master, don't be discouraged, the level system will train you to improve. Silver Wolf comforted, because of the particularity of the system, people the master sees will automatically display names. Green is friendly, blue is neutral, and red is hostile. Kill. There will be rewards for mortal enemies. It's the same as playing games. Yin Tianling touched her smooth chin and said, if I regard this era as an online game, then returning to the Earth will be my ultimate reward. Very good. It fits my taste. This is her. Feeling comfortable for the first time after rebirth. The system will make a training plan based on the host's physical performance. The first thing you have to improve as the host is physical skills. Silver Wolf continued, the training plan is phased. Once you choose to start, you can't give up. The host, you are sure to start the training plan. Yin Tianling clenched her fists, living in this unfamiliar world, how can she survive without being strong? She can still remember that she was stunned by her brother just now. This is a shame to her. Is the training carried out in the system? Silver Wolf nodded his big head. Okay, start now. Yin Tianling's eyes burst into dazzling toughness, she must become stronger. The physical skill level upgrade plan has begun. In the first stage, please come to the training room. Silver Wolf's voice became mechanical. Immediately, a huge trainer appeared in front of Yin Tianling, with all the training equipment inside. She pursed her lips and strode in. At the same time, Yin Tianling's second brother Han Yin jumped out of the mecha, threw Yin Tianling on the sofa mercilessly, and then put the mecha into the space button. No 002, the smart robot at home, immediately scanned Yin Tianling. Suddenly, the huge alarm light on No 002's head lit up, and the synthesized female voice resounded throughout the house, alarm! Alarm! Missy's body beta-256 toxin is seriously exceeded. The excess dose is 300 times, and the possible effects are, damage to brain tissue, damage to internal organs, and cause death. Apply for emergency treatment. Han Yin's expression changed when he was going to go upstairs. Although he didn't like Yin Tianling, he definitely couldn't watch her die. Han Yin turned on Hineo, found the family doctor's number, and dialed it immediately. The private family doctor of the Han family is a young man. When his lazy face appeared on the light screen formed by the brain, Han Yin quickly said, Mayor. Come to my house, the culprit was hit 3 times. 100 times the poison of beta-256. When Mayer heard that, the yawning disappeared, and he looked at Han Yin in surprise. 300 times. God! I'm afraid she's already dead. An ordinary person's 300 times is one step away from death, and Yin Tianling's useless body, 300 times has already caused her to die. Han Yin hurriedly jumped downstairs and tested Yin Tianling's breath with his fingers. She's not dead yet. Come here quickly. If something happens to her, my elder brother will scold me to death. Mayer combed his blonde hair and smiled at Han Yin with a bewitching smile. Okay, 5 minutes. After that, he shut down the communication. Han Yin looked at Yin Tianling with a look of resentment. Why did his Han family get out of her dude? That beta-256 is the ingredient of a nightclub stimulant. She only knocked 300 times the number of drugs. The more I looked at him, the more angry he became, and he simply sat on the sofa on the other side and didn't look at her. Although Dr. Mayer was a little sassy, he was very punctual. He said 5 minutes is 5 minutes. As soon as Mayer entered the door, he looked at Yin Tianling, put on professional medical gloves, and when his fingers were reversed, a sharp needle pierced Yin Tianling's finger. Some black and red blood dripped on the precision instrument he took out from the space knob, and the analysis results on the instrument came out in the blink of an eye. He looked at Yin Tianling's smoky makeup face, shook his head, and said to Han Yin, "She is very poisoned and needs to go into the treatment cabin for blood purification. But judging from the results of the laboratory tests, the toxicity has penetrated into her brain. It is estimated that there will be some irreparable problems in her brain. Whatever, her brain has never been good." Han Yin said with a black face, called 002 to carry Yin Tianling, and sent him into the treatment cabin. Mayer lowered his head and smiled, and patted Han Yin on the shoulder. "The love is deep, and the responsibility is arduous. How can I say, she is your sister?" Han Yin snorted coldly, "I would rather not have this shameless sister." Mayer is non-committal, he can't participate in other people's affairs. Blood purification can be done with your 002. Should I stay and wait for the results of the purification, or should I go ahead? Wait. Han Yin motioned to him to sit down. "I still need to tell the eldest brother about the situation after I'm done." Mayer smiled, leaning on the sofa casually. Yin Tianling in the system doesn't know her current situation at all, because she is being abused by the system's desire, immortality, desire, and death. After doing 200 push-ups, only rest for 5 minutes, and then 100 pull-ups. Every movement must be standardized, and the non-standard system will reward her a strong current. After doing the so-called warm-up, she was thrown into a confined space to avoid the virtual bullet. It was a real pain if the bullet hit her body if she couldn't avoid it. Maybe she has a masochistic physique, the more she challenges her physical limits, the more she likes it. It's as if there is a sense of energy hidden in her heart, she just refuses to admit defeat. She just wants to become stronger. After the high-intensity training, the system will give her 2 bottles of repair liquid and marrow lotion as a reward for completion. Yin Lang explained to her that the repairing fluid can repair all the negative damages caused by her training, and the marrow washing fluid removes impurities in her body and makes her body beautiful. At the same time, her first film Queen mission was also issued, Mission Level A, on June 25, 2563 of the Alliance calendar. The capital star movie Eternal Emperor won the role of supporting actress Lao Ji. Reward: Experience 100, activate the body strengthening function. Yin Lang opened her personal main interface for Yin Tianling, and it showed her current situation. Owner: Yin Tianling. Popularity: unheard of. Physical skills: D. Spiritual power, C. Charm, E. Ability, not activated. System level: 0 level 1% function, none. That 1% is the experience value that the owner just added during training. The silver wolf jumped happily. Yin Tianling twitched the corners of his mouth, not thinking that 1% was anything to be happy about. 2 bottles of low-level potions rewarded by the system in one bite. When the medicine entered her body, she felt very comfortable all over her body, and the injuries suffered during training were fully recovered. What a good thing! Yin Tianling's eyes lit up. Silver Wolf, can I continue training? Yes, yes. But, Master, I have detected that you are in the treatment cabin, don't you want to go out and have a look? After Silver Wolf's popularization of her knowledge, she is not an old man, she naturally knows what a treatment cabin is. Although she doesn't like her current body, after all, this thing is hers now, so she'd better take a look. Withdrawing from the system, Yin Tianling opened the pair of piercing eyes instantly. But I didn't expect to meet a pair of peach eyes with a little surprise. She frowned vigilantly, trying to speak, but a strange smell of liquid entered her mouth with a mouth. Mayer didn't expect Yin Tianling to wake up so quickly, especially the eyes that made him memorable just now. He glanced at the blood purification result, nodded in satisfaction, and then pressed the drain button, and the nutrient solution in the treatment cabin was drained. Opening the protective cover of the treatment cabin, Mayer stared at Yin Tianling with interest. Sitting up from the treatment cabin, her clothes had been penetrated by the nutrient solution, but she didn't mind at all. She works as a mercenary on the earth. That's a job mixed with men. If she were hypocritical, she would have been unable to live long ago. Mayer didn't evade the idea, he was a doctor. Who are you? Yin Tianling pressed her lips tightly, speaking indifferently and vigilantly. Mayer raised his eyebrows, took out the notebook and quickly wrote on it, Sequelae amnesia. I am your family's personal doctor, Mayer, do you have any other uncomfortable feelings? He curled his lips and smiled, a gentle smile that hides the distance. Yin Tianling frowned and said in a low voice, no. Nevertheless, you should do a full body scan. It's safer. Mayer called 002 and looked at Yin Tianling's vigilant eyes. He explained, it's your medical robot 002, and it won't hurt you. Yin Tianling looked at the short and fat 002 that was still covered in metal skin, and after thinking about it, he allowed it to scan her. Recommend the T-ending fantasy essay The Mad Girl Against the Heavens, Lord 9.5 years old, please poke it if you like it. She is a modern legendary mercenary lone wolf, she is the young master of another world's waste wood and straw bag, after an inexplicable crossing, she became her. Can she survive in the desolate territory? Chu Ruyun, Chu Ruyun, vowed to turn the deserted wasteland into the richest territory in Shangguo continent. If the sky stops me, I will go against the sky. If God hinders me, I will kill God. People under the eaves have to bow their heads. When she has the ability to leave this place, she won't be so passive. 002's eyes emitted finely scanned particle light, and the light did not cause any discomfort to her. After the scan, the eldest lady is in good physical condition. 002 said. Mayer nodded and stood up, in that case, I will report the situation to your second brother. Goodbye, Miss Yin. After all, he left the medical room directly. Seeing Mayer left, Yin Tianling walked out of the treatment cabin. This room was full of various sophisticated medical equipment, and it was definitely not her room. With the idea of trying it out, she said to 002, can you take me back to the room? 002's eyes flashed, and then happily replied, of course I can, and I am willing to help you, miss. Back to his room, Yin Tianling was also drunk. The colorful style of the room made her feel as uncomfortable as her hair. Welcome back, miss, 104 is willing to serve you. As soon as she stood still, a robot dressed as a housekeeper walked in front of her. Although his skin and clothes are exactly the same as normal people, the energy cartridge exposed from his heart exposed his robot's identity. I want to take a bath. With Yin Lang spreading knowledge for her, she didn't look so blank. Okay, miss, the bath water is ready, you can go. 104 set the bathroom data in the blink of an eye. Yin Tianling nodded, and before entering the bathroom, she added, "Change the projection theme of the room, just change it to a rustic style." Silver Wolf told her that the architectural style of the room was made by something called an environmental controller, which could be changed at will. "Okay, miss." 104 saluted respectfully. Downstairs, Mayer handed the recorded file to Han Yin, and yawned lazily. "It is solved, there is only one sequelae, she is very lucky." Han Yin glanced at the records on the file, curled his lips. "Amnesia? Better." Mayer didn't care about their family affairs, waved his hand, and left altogether. Han Yin originally thought that the matter would be serious, but he didn't expect it to be just an amnesia, so he felt that the matter didn't need to disturb his elder brother, so he put the file 002 in the treatment room file and turned him upstairs. After taking a shower, Yin Tianling looked at the more pleasing pastoral decoration style, and finally felt relieved. Looking at herself in the mirror, she clenched her fists. In the mirror, although she is not the peerless beauty of the country and the city, she is also the best in the middle of everyone she has seen. Perhaps because of the lotion, the cleansed face has a fair and smooth skin, with almost no pores visible. The chill that belonged to her burst into those eyes rippling with a stream of spring water. The bridge of the nose is tall, the wings of the nose are well proportioned, and the thin vermilion lips are pressed tightly, revealing some thin curves. In the future, this is her. Scratching a head of colorful hair, her eyes were full of disgust. Fortunately, there are many dye creams on the bathroom cabinet, so she can dye her hair back to black again. Although she doesn't know what color her hair should be, she still likes the black hair she used to be. Although the original owner's hair is colorful, but the hair quality is very good, when the hair color is dyed back to black, the long hair over the shoulders is soft and smooth. She sat on the sofa with her bare feet, used her intellectual brain to find out about the history of this era and began to study. It turned out that the interstellar age was formed from the second Big Bang of the universe. 2,357 years before the Alliance, the overexploited Earth fell into an aging period. The Earth people were divided into 3 parts according to their skin color. They gave up the Earth. In the same year, the second Big Bang occurred in the universe, and all the survivable planets around the Milky Way disappeared. The 3 parts of the Earth's inhabitants finally decided to join forces to find a new planet and formed an alliance. Now that so many years have passed since the establishment of the alliance, the technology of the alliance has reached an unimaginable level. In order to commemorate the name of the Galactic Alliance, it is named after it. Yin Tianling closed his eyes tightly, and clenched his hand on his leg into a fist. The Earth is actually destroyed. When anyone on Earth learns that the planet on which he lives has been destroyed, his mood must be as bad as hers. "Master, it doesn't matter, we can travel through time and space and return to the time when the Earth is not destroyed." In her mind, the Silver Wolf said comfortingly. Stabilizing her emotions, Yin Tianling opened her eyes, further deepening her determination to return to Earth. "Silver Wolf, do you have any information about me?" Her eyes were black now, and she could not show that she was an ancient human. If anyone knew that she was an ancient human, I am afraid that she would be taken to the research institute. She has always believed in knowing herself and the enemy and winning every battle. She now has too little information. It's a pity that Silver Wolf shook its head. "Sorry master, I can only locate your plane and era, and I can't do anything else. It is just a system and it can do too little." It seems that she really can only take one step at a time. Now, the most important thing is that she needs to take full control of her body. This body is too strange for her to accurately grasp the contraction and relaxation of every muscle. This is unacceptable to her. As a mercenary, she first grasped the perfect control of her body. What's more, she will be an actor in the future. In order to get close to the mission goal, she had done many occupations. She has her professional ethics, she must do something like something. It can be said that an excellent mercenary can be an excellent actor, but an excellent actor may not be an excellent mercenary. As a result, the emotionless eyes of her personal butler robot 104 watched its owner twitching her muscles all the time. It is even a little worried. Do you need to call 002 over to show the owner? The capital star's day is 48 hours, and the light source is a white planet similar to the Sun. When Yin Tianling mastered all the muscles in her body, she found that it was already dark outside. 104 promptly reminded, "Miss, it's time for dinner, the second master is waiting for you in the restaurant." A flash of sharpness flashed through Yin Tianling's eyes. "I'm going to see the relatives of this body so soon." The second young master, was the guy who fainted her? Led by 104, she arrived at the restaurant. Sitting at the round table is a man in a light blue uniform. He has short black hair and looks very handsome on his profile. The grace of his posture when eating is a good education. There are faint thin calluses on the slender fingers. It should be a person who often holds weapons. In Yin Tianling's sight, the man's head was covered with two blue words, Han Yin. It really was the guy who knocked her out. Perhaps sensing the coldness in her eyes, Han Yin, who was eating, raised his head. When he saw Yin Tianling, he was slightly taken aback, but after instantly realizing who she was, his eyes were full of disgust and disgust. She even dyed her hair back and she hasn't put on makeup yet. It seems that she has lost her memory. "I'm your second brother." After he uttered this sentence, he took a sip of the wine, his expression showing no intimacy to his sister. "You have caused amnesia due to drug use. But I don't have time to spread common sense to you, it's up to you. I'll tell you the 104. After all, he seemed to have lost all appetite, glanced at her displeasedly, turned and left the restaurant. Yin Tianling squinted his eyes, a sneer at the corner of his lips. "Brother? It's just that." She is not uncomfortable, because in her eyes, everything in this era does not belong to her, and she should not have any feelings with this era. Sitting on the chair, the 305 robot put the invisible food in front of her. A pile of green paste-like liquid poured on the purple solid-like thing. "It looks really disgusting. Miss, today's food is moruo crushed with stem leaf cakes, which is your favorite?" 305's appearance was set up to look like an ant, and his words were filled with affection. She nodded and ate the food without pretense, although the taste was not flattering. But it doesn't matter, she can even eat insects and raw meat, not to mention these foods. 104 is a conscientious butler robot. She began to talk about her. "Miss is the third child of the Han family. The eldest master's name is Han Ming, and she is now the general of the league. The second master's name is Han Yin, she is currently a fourth-year student of Mecha Department of Union University. The eldest lady followed her surname, and her name is Yin Tianling. She is now a first-year student of Mecha Manufacturing Department of Union University. The master and wife of the family have passed away 15 years ago. The robot at home. There are 3 types. Those starting with 0 are treatment robots, those starting with 1 are housekeeping robots, those starting with 2 are security robots, and those starting with 3 are housekeeping robots." Yin Tianling quickly remembered the information 104 said, and it was all good information. "I suggest that the eldest lady insert my chip into your brain when going out, so that I can answer your questions at any time." 104 pointed to the invisible card slot in his brain and said. She nodded and accepted 104's offer. Back to her room, 104 was still supplementing her with knowledge. For example, you can drive a mech only if you reach level in physical skills and mental power. For another example, the Alliance advocates strength, and wastewood is the lowest level of existence. In addition, the level of citizenship determines the benefits and so on. Yin Tianling supplemented his knowledge in the first half of the night, and exercised physical skills in the system in the second half of the night. When she opened her eyes refreshingly the next day, it was time for her to do the task. Under the guidance of 104, she successfully drove her aircraft to the casting scene of the movie One Emperor. Looking around, many beautiful women are waiting for interviews. When Yin Tianling saw the role of Lao Ji on the character board, he was stunned for a moment. This Lao Ji turned out to be. Interstellar interviews are somewhat different from those on Earth. The actors in the interview will perform according to the role selections on the holographic bulletin board. The place of performance is a special performance room provided for the interviewer. The performance room will change the environment according to the selected role selection, and the situation in the performance room will be relayed to the director in real time to choose the role. Yin Tianling stared at the selection of Lao Ji's role, thinking secretly how he should act. Since she wants to be a queen, she must not lose. Once her mercenary leader said that she was a born actor. Being cold to everyone, no one can walk into her heart. She laughed at him for the first second, and then stabbed a knife into the opponent's chest without changing her face. Her eyes darkened when she thought of the past. She shouldn't be ruthless, after all, she would still mind the destruction of the mercenary group, and whether she can return to Earth. After memorizing the lines, Yin Tianling walked into a performance room that had just been vacated. Enter the role she chose, and the white walls changed instantly. Light gauze curtains, curling incense burners. Among the red pavilions, a chaise longue made of yellow rosewood appeared in her eyes. There is a guqin in front of the incense table, and a lute beside the guqin. On the luxurious red and gold carpet, a few sheets of rice paper were sprinkled freely, and the brush dipped in ink fell on the snow-white rice paper, and a large area was smudged suddenly. This situation are inseparable from the ancient Chinese boudoir. You know, the interstellar era has passed the Earth era for thousands of years. I am afraid that the directors have also put a lot of effort into this restoration. On the other side, in front of the holographic screen in the director's room, middle-aged director Zhang Bolao was looking at the screen while recording with a pen on paper. Beside him, a young man with brown hair also hugged his shoulders, with a somewhat boring taste on his delicate face. The woman in room 5 has nice hair, but why doesn't she start acting? Zhang Bolao muttered to himself. At first glance, he was a rigorous and sophisticated director, and his notebook was full of every interviewer's pros and cons. Director Zhang, is the role of Lao Ji really that important? You can choose it yourself. The young man, Oulu raised his eyebrows and asked. Zhang Bolao didn't look at him, but replied, of course it's important. In the whole movie, except for your character, this Lao Ji can't be sloppy. She is an important assistant to your character. Oulu shrugged, and her lips raised an interesting curve. The number 5-1 has begun. The woman with long black hair seemed to change her face, her eyes suddenly became silky, her body twisted like no bones. She walked 2 steps, returning her hand to wrap her shoulders, as if holding a shaky gauze. She walked to lie down on the chaise longue, the seductive gesture with a lazy taste. She pulled away the tangled skirt, and held the white jade wine bottle on the square table with her bare hand. She drank the wine coolly, or lifted the bottle high, letting the syrup slip from her chin into her neck. Sue is drunk, and there is drunken dampness in her charming eyes. She staggered up and picked up the brush on the ground, as if she wanted to write a few words. But because he was drunk and couldn't write, he finally threw away the brush angrily, walked to the guqin of the incense case, and his slender white fingers gently played a small tune on the guqin. Seeing this, Zhang Bolao was so excited that he threw away the pen and paper in his hand, and his eyes were almost stuck on the screen. Even Oulu, who had always felt boring, raised his eyebrows thoughtfully. The she he saw just now was the same as the one she was performing. The former's eyes are indifferent, while the latter, even every action is a play. When did the league have such a double-faced girl? Maybe it was her addiction to the drama. Oulu turned her head and said to Zhang Bolao, Director Zhang, I will try her drama. After that, he got up, pressed a button, and disappeared. In the performance room, Yin Tianling, who concentrated on acting, put down the gherkin and leaned on the incense table. Tears slipped from the corner of her eyes and sank into her hair. According to the plot, the simulated male lead should be released at this time. Sure enough, as she thought. The man in a black brocade robe with gold threads embroidered with golden dragons pushed open the door of her room and walked in. The visitor has a noble temperament, his sword eyebrows are straight, his eyes are vast as the sea, and his red lips are pressed tightly, as if he is a little distressed to see her at this time. Saoji, you. His voice was dumb, adding some mature masculinity. Lao Ji looked at the incoming person, her eyes sank instantly, as if all her drunkenness and sadness were nothing more than illusions. How can you be here? Don't forget that today is yours. I know what day it is today. The man interrupted her, and his eyes fell on her with painful eyes. Lao Ji, are you really unwilling to be my empress? Emperor. Lao Ji smiled coldly, it's not worth mentioning to me. You, don't forget your heart. He took a step back, his face hardened, you really don't want it. I don't want to. She was also categorical. Good. Good. I am as you wish. After that, he swept away. Lao Ji, who stayed in the room, started to laughed, and burst into tears. At this point, Yin Tianling's performance selections are also over, and the room is restored to a pure white. Under Ou Lu's gaze, her expression instantly changed back to its original appearance, and she could not find the appearance of Lao Ji just now. How is it? Zhang Shrike looked at Oulu, who was teleported back from the performance room with piercing eyes, and the excitement in his expression had not faded. Oulu stared at Yin Tianling's tight little face, and only said one word, okay. She even let him into the play, really a capable actor. Zhang Bolao immediately decided, she must be the role of Lao Ji. Yin Tianling didn't know how to know whether she could be selected, the performance room was blank, and she was not interested in staying any longer. Turning around, she was about to leave. Miss. Please wait. As she was about to go out, a strange voice rang from the wall beside her. The face of a middle-aged man appeared on the snow-white wall. I am Zhang Bolao, the chief director of this film. Can I send you directly to me? Yin Tianling looked wary, as if he didn't believe his identity. He didn't lie to you. Oulu reluctantly showed up, you should know me. You are the one who played with me just now. She recognized Oulu at a glance. Of course, the most important thing is the blue name on his head. Oulu touched his nose. Wouldn't normal people generally call him Ou Yingdi? Could it be that an actress has just come from a remote alien system? Yin Tianling temporarily believed Zhang Bolao's words and sent them to the office. As soon as she stood firm, Zhang Bolao hugged her shoulders. You can actually play the gherkin. That's amazing. Yin Tianling didn't like the touch of strangers very much, and wanted to struggle away, but she couldn't leave the excited Zhang Bolao. This made her realize the importance of strength again. Oulu saw Yin Tianling's unhappiness, and kindly came out to pull Zhang Shrike away. Hello, I am Oulu. He stretched out his hand. It turned out that the handshake gift for meeting in Interstellar age is still preserved. Yin Tianling gave a light grip and immediately released it. Yin Tianling. Oulu showed a charming smile. Congratulations, you got the role of Lao Ji. At the same time, Yin Tianling's mind made a systematic voice. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the Alavel mission, gaining 100 experience points and activating the body strengthening function. Ding! The system level is upgraded to level 110%. The upgrade rewards a weapon dagger. Please continue to work hard for the host. Ding! Trigger the Alavel mission ring, the first ring. Please complete the signing of the role of Lao Ji in Eternal Emperor. These 3 reminders made her feel slightly better even though she didn't change her face. When will you sign the contract? Yin Tianling's surprise and success shocked Oulu slightly. Shouldn't the next brain circuit be happy that I have obtained a role? He didn't know that Yin Tianling didn't like to be an actor first, and second, she had confidence in herself, and she had to do everything she knew. It's okay now. Zhang Bolao immediately called up the contract on Ji Now, and after he wrote his name on it, he thought of asking for Yin Tianling's communication number. Yin Tianling pressed his lips, turned on Zhinao, and said to 104, "Tell me my communication number." 104's voice was uploaded from Zhinao, and Zhang Bolao quickly added Yin Tianling. The contract was sent to her brain, and 104 was scanned and found that there was no problem before she was asked to sign it. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the first ring of the Alavel mission ring and rewarding a little bit of skill. Ding! Trigger the Alavel mission ring, the second ring, a day of shooting in the crew of Eternal Emperor. What are skill points? Although she had doubts in her heart, she did not ask Silver Wolf. After all, it was not the time to solve it. After exchanging the communication number with Oulu, Zhang Bolao kept asking her questions about Guqin. At this time, she realized that there were very few people who could play Guqin in the interstellar age, and it was almost a stunt. She shuddered, and it seemed that she had acted a little too far. She had studied Guqin for 2 days in order to get close to the mission goal, but she only played a minor tune. She kept silent, and Zhang Bolao had no choice but to let her go after telling her the boot time. Walking out of the office, she breathed a sigh of relief. This ancient human being is really not good. But thanks to 104 today, otherwise, she doesn't know how to check her communication number. If she guessed correctly, the man named Oulu should be the male protagonist of One Emperor. That person, not only the city is deep, but even the strength is not weak. Back home, Han Yin has not yet returned. Yin Tianling was happy and free, and when she returned to the room, she finally found the thing like a treatment cabin in the corner. 104, what's that? 104, who reinserted the chip into his body, smiled at his gentleman. "Miss, that's the Star Network cabin." Before she could ask anything about Xinguang, 104 told her. Xinguang is a virtual network that houses the entire interstellar network. As long as you have a connector, no matter you are a poor or aristocrat, even interstellar pirates can enter the Star Network. In the Star Network, just like reality, you can exercise and organize banquet. Friends don't have to waste time hopping between the planets when they meet each other. Yin Tianling's eyes lit up. This Star Network is a good thing. She doesn't know anything now, so she can go in and study in her free time. However, Silver Wolf, if I enter the Star Network, will it have any effect on you? She didn't want to happen. The Silver Wolf in her mind shook his head. No problem, Master, StarNet is for you. After getting the answer, she quickly got into the Star Network cabin. Seeing her impatient appearance, 104 shook her head very humanely, took out the nutrient solution from the space button, and connected it to the external pipe of the Star Network cabin. Entering the Star Network cabin, Yin Tianling immediately felt a subtle electromagnetic wave enveloping her body. For a moment, her eyes were dark, and her ears were very soft voices. "Welcome back." For a moment, she felt that she was standing on the ground, and opening her eyes, she found that she was already in the busy street. The transportation of the Star Network is not built according to reality, but simple land transportation, which looks similar to the situation on the Earth. She read her Xinguang information, and to her a little surprise, the original owner didn't seem to like Xinguang very much. Her character is a random passerby, with a mediocre appearance and golden hair, which looks quite like a white man on the Earth. The name is more ordinary, just a string of numbers. Moreover, she found out that it was not easy for her to see her name on the Star Network. The feeling that StarNet gives people is one atune. The joy, anger, sorrow, and joy in StarNet are all real, but if you get injured in StarNet, reality will be fine. This also made Xinguang's most popular duel arena very popular. The first place Yin Tianling wanted to go was there. Entering the hall of the dueling arena, the duel information is scrolling on the wall. In the center is a huge screen, and a wonderful mecha duel is being broadcast live on it. It's amazing. You can still play for such a long time with the first level mecha. A red-haired boy looked at the big screen boy with scorching eyes. The man in the black mech on the screen has concise actions and does not slop at all. Holding the mech knife is so simple to pick and stab him. The man in the red mech on the opposite side of him can't touch him at all. Regardless of the era, the duel is the same. Yin Tianling could see that the black mecha was very easy to do, and the opponent was just the end of the battle. The high-energy particle cannons equipped on the Magic Eagle are useless. Whoever loses is not always the case. A rough man touched his head. Although he said that, he seemed a little lacking in confidence. Ming stood in place, almost motionless under his feet, like an insurmountable mountain. The Magic Eagle fought for so long, and his heart was full of anger, and he pointed the mecha knives with both fingers and stabbed the most fragile mecha joints. The name flashed flexibly, the mecha knife in his hand blocked the opponent's attack brilliantly, and the huge mecha arm hit the Magic Eagle's abdomen fiercely. Although the people outside could not hear the sound of the duel, they all saw that the Magic Eagle was beaten back by the name. What strength is this? The first-class mecha used by the famous name is only equipped with a mecha knife, and no part is comparable to the third-class mecha of the Magic Eagle. This mecha is controlled by the body, so you can imagine how sturdy it is. Maybe it was because the famous hitter was impatient, he finally took the initiative to attack. I saw that the black mecha was as light as a black butterfly, but every time his skill was mixed with a mighty force, the Magic Eagle was defeated steadily by him. Yin Tianling's spectators were a little excited. The black mecha made a smooth backflip in midair, and the mecha knife stabbed right away, hitting the back of the Magic Eagle's neck. The mecha sparked golden sparks, and the Magic Eagle felt the damage of the mecha for the first time. Similarly, the warning sound of the mecha also fell into his ears. Warning! Warning! The main line is damaged, and the mecha's defensive ability reduced to 50%. The Magic Eagle sighed, seeing the button of the high-energy particle gun at hand, and pressing his lips tightly, his blue eyes looked at the black mecha through the mecha, as if I wanted to see the person in the mecha. Take advantage of his illness to kill him. Ming quickly moved to the front of the Magic Eagle's body, the mecha knife pressed against the Magic Eagle's chest and pierced hard at the joint of his right arm. At the same time, the Magic Eagle actually pressed the launch button of the high-energy particle cannon against the famous. Everyone couldn't help but be speechless just seeing the dust flying on the screen. The particle cannons are all down, and the name must be lost. Who makes him so conceited? Using a standard mecha. Hey! How do you talk? The outcome over there has not yet been determined, but the judge is about to fight. The dust has not completely cleared, and the result has appeared on the screen. Ming won. Everyone is in chaos again. This name has really escaped from under the high-energy particle cannon. This is too scary. Oh my god! How did the name do it? The red-haired boy beside Yin Tianling was excited, and grasped her arm familiarly. It's amazing! It's amazing! Yin Tianling's face sank instantly, trying to pull her arm out, but she took it twice and didn't take it back. This makes her face darker. The teenager seemed to feel her low pressure, and reacted all of a sudden. He smiled and scratched his head. Sorry, I can easily catch people around me when I am happy. I am Qatar and I am glad to meet you. Yin Tianling became indifferent to the youth's enthusiasm, retracted his arm, didn't even give him a look, turned around and walked into the depths of the crowd. Qatar was stunned, and laughed. There is such a shy person now, so cute. Yin Tianling didn't know that Qatar regarded her indifference as shy, because at this time she entered the mecha teaching area. I have to say that the duel just now aroused her desire to fight, but the boy also poured a bucket of cold water on her. Her current physical and mental powers are not up to standard, and in reality she can't even control her mecha. But it doesn't matter, there is no such fundamental requirement in the star network. Ordinary people can drive mechas, but they don't have strong strength. And she, now has to learn to drive mecha. There are 3 levels of mecha driving: beginner, master, and proficient. She chose the most basic entry. After paying for the star coins dedicated to StarNet, she was transported to a spacious room, surrounded by the most common standard mechas she had just seen. "Hello, I am your teacher in this class, you can call me Teacher Hao." A man was also sent in front of her. This Teacher Hao also used random characters. Judging from his voice, his true age should be no more than 40. Yin Tianling nodded, and Hao started to teach. Mechas are divided into mental power mechas and physical control mechas. The two are just different in their control methods, and other aspects are the same. Yin Tianling absorbed Hao's words word by word. At this moment, she was very beautiful, but no one could appreciate it. Perhaps it was because Yin Tianling was serious, Hao's voice became softer, and the knowledge he uttered began to deepen. Yin Tianling touched the leg of the standard mecha, feeling agitated in her heart. She must drive the mecha and sweep across the stars. So, the weapon of the mecha is also one of the factors for the victory of the duel. Hao paused. "What kind of mecha do you want to drive? I can show you a try." "Use physical manipulation." She has always believed in physical memory. Just like manipulating her muscles, physical memory is also a very important skill. Hao nodded, then offend. After that, he stretched out his strong arms, grabbed Yin Tianling's slender waist, took off to the cab located in the center of the mecha, and then put her down. "I see that your physical skills are not very good, so..." Hao explained a little embarrassed. Yin Tianling waved her hand to indicate that she didn't care, but that cold face was looking eagerly at the device in front of her eyes. Hao smiled slowly and said in a serious tone, "Generally, the cockpits of mechas have two-person seats, so that on the real battlefield, the armorers equipped in the mecha cabins can repair the mechas at any time. The position you are sitting in is the main pilot. Location. When the mecha is activated, all the devices in front of you will wrap you up, and you can directly control the mecha with your body. If it is a mental mecha, the mecha's device will only cover the head." Yin Tianling nodded. "Can I start now?" "Yes, let me be by your side, don't worry, I will tell you what to do at any time." Hao smiled, indicating that she can start. Yin Tianling immediately pressed the start button, and suddenly, as Hao said, the devices instantly wrapped her. However, there is no discomfort in this feeling, she seems to be a part of the mecha, and the sight of the mecha has become her sight. "Now you can try to raise your legs." Hao's voice sounded beside her. According to the instructions, she was about to raise her right leg. At this time, she felt that the mecha was so heavy. She actually took a lot of effort to lift it up a little bit. She gritted her teeth and continued to lift up hard, but the effect was minimal. Mechas are very heavy, so in reality, the mental and physical requirements of a mecha division are very high. Hao explained patiently. Yin Tianling, who was wrapped in the mecha device, burst out with astonishing perseverance in his eyes, pressed his lips tightly, and poured all his strength on his right leg. Hao stared at the mecha status screen on the mecha copilot. A flash of surprise flashed in his eyes. According to the mecha monitoring, the mecha's right leg is already 1 meter above the ground. This is nothing to their mecha divisions, but it is a miracle for someone who has first contact with mechas and seems to be inadequate in physical skills. If Yin Tianling learns about Hao's thoughts, he will definitely sneer. What a miracle, but she refused to admit defeat. There are so many miracles in the world. In the final analysis, people who create miracles persevere, relying on perseverance to succeed step by step. Just raising her legs, with such a simple movement, Yin Tianling's head was already violent, but she was not content, she insisted on moving forward. Hao leaned on the passenger seat, with a hint of interest at the corner of his mouth, called up his personal communication device, and dialed the first number. Because the communication is private, only he can see the light curtain that appears, and the sound is also isolated and encrypted. The communication was connected, but the other party did not speak. Hao seemed to be familiar with the opponent's indifference, and said familiarly, "Boss, you know what? I met a particularly interesting person today." A person with substandard physical function raised the leg of the standard mecha, "Look like this son, maybe one step further." I talked a lot here, but I only responded to him with a concise and clear word, "Yet." What appeared on the screen was a customized mech, which was doing regular training at this time. Hao curled his lips, completely no longer the alienation he had just treated Yin Tianling, "Boss. Although he is on the Star Network, he is also very powerful, okay? I know." The other party's voice was low, with a mature and sophisticated magnetism, like that old red wine, with a mellow taste. "Okay, okay, in front of you, a perverted genius, it's really nothing." Hao shook his head. What else did he want to say? The other party interrupted the communication. Hao muttered a few words, and put away the communication equipment without a bit of mind. At this time, Yin Tianling actually took a step forward. Hao stared at the screen with excitement, then deliberately sank his emotions, and said calmly, "It's okay. If you continue, it will cause long-term damage to your body." The mecha device separated, revealing Yin Tianling inside. At this time, Yin Tianling's clothes were all wet with sweat, his hair was on his face, he was panting heavily, and the face of the system was flushed with red. The most striking thing is the excited eyes. As if encountering something interesting that aroused her hope of conquest, she was fascinated by the process of conquering it. Even though it was hard, she didn't feel bitter. People with this mentality will undoubtedly become strong. What puzzled him most was that the breath of this girl inadvertently made him care. That is the temperament that can only be obtained after the real baptism of war. Hao thought, if you really want to learn mecha, I can be your personal teacher. Yin Tianling looked back, "Are you okay?" Although he has never been in contact with other teachers on this planet, Professor Hao's things are really detailed and suitable for people like her who don't know anything. Hao shook his head, "It's okay to spare 3 days a week." This is the first time he has risen up as a temporary teacher today, and he didn't expect to meet someone that interests him like this. 3 days. Yin Tianling thought for a while. She will be filming in the future, and she can still be free for 3 days a week. "Okay, no problem. But how can I contact you?" "This." Hao hesitated, he didn't want to exchange his communication number with a stranger. "Let's fix the time. If there is something for both parties, leave a message in the teaching area." Yin Tianling was also unwilling to have a deep friendship with people of this era, so he proposed. Hao also thought that this idea was good, and the two agreed on a time and place, and today's class is also over. After sweating all over, Yin Tianling was not interested in shopping in the Star Network. At the same time, the outside call bell in the Star Network cabin rang. Pushing open the door of the Star Net cabin, what she saw was the decent face of the gentleman on 104, "Miss, the second young master is back. It looks like he is very angry and is telling you to go down. So what is Han Yin doing?" After finishing her clothes, she went downstairs. "Yin Tianling." When the furious Han Yin saw Yin Tianling, he roared out in an instant, "How come my Han family has you as rubbish?" Yin Tianling's eyes went cold, and it was strange that she was not angry when faced with a sudden insult from a stranger. Han Yin didn't care whether she was angry or not, but turned on the projection, and some very bad photos suddenly appeared in the air. The background of the photo is a bar with red lights and green wine. The protagonist, that is, she, is sitting next to a bunch of men, drinking drunkly, and there are some empty potions on the table. The first one is better, the others just feel a little unsightly. Either she hugs the men and kisses her, or she drank the potion frantically. Some are even half undressed and stray in shape. My Han family tutor has always been rigorous. When I get to you, you lose my face. Look at your behavior. If this is spread out, do you know how bad it will affect your eldest brother? Han Yin is really angry. Now, his fair face was flushed with anger, and even his eyes were somewhat congested. Yin Tianling pressed his lips, unable to explain. Although she didn't do those things, she couldn't tell Han Yin, "I'm not your sister is dead a long time ago." If so, she also wants to return to Earth alive. She didn't speak. Han Yin thought she had no repentance, so he said angrily, "You get out of here. My Han family doesn't have such a corrupt thing as you." The atmosphere instantly condensed. Yin Tianling looked at him coldly for a minute, before turning back to the room. Not welcome her? Sorry, she doesn't want to live here. 104, are you obedient to Han Yin, or my personal butler? At this time, she would never be so stupid that she would leave directly in the aircraft. 104 saluted her, "Miss, I am only loyal to you." He is her personal butler, and she is the only one in the center of the program. He can choose to listen to Han Yin's order or not, but he must obey Yin Tianling's order. Well, you better not betray me. Betrayal is the most unforgivable thing. How many credits are there in my account? The currency in circulation in the alliance is a point of credit, and there is no actual carrier. There are still 10,000 credits, but miss, 1 month later, the vacation ends, you need to use these credits to pay tuition. 104 said. 1 month. 104, looking for a low-cost rental house on StarNet, I want to move out. As soon as this statement came out, 104 was surprised for a moment. Miss, the second young master is not serious. 104. Yin Tianling faintly called his name. 104 respectfully saluted, got up and went to find a house. Taking out the space button, she put the Star Network cabin in, and installed some daily necessities. She didn't move any other precious things. Miss, there is a rental house in the 4th district of Capital Star. The rent is 800 credits a month. However, the 4th district is a slum. Okay, that's it, you can make a contract. It doesn't matter where she lives. This era is like a game to her. She doesn't have any sense of substitution, and she doesn't think she should bear all the sins of the original owner. Why should she make compromises? 104 gave her the contract and room code, and then took the initiative to enter the space button. He is the steward of the eldest lady and cannot leave her. With the space button, Yin Tianling left Han's house directly in the aircraft according to the map. Second young master, the eldest lady has left home. Han Yin's personal butler, 103, looks like a middle-aged man, and his elegant posture is really a bit of Han Yin's fault. An angry Han Yin had already forgotten the fact that Yin Tianling was amnesia, thinking she was just upset, and went out to fool around. Where does she like to go? I don't have time to control her. 103 nodded, and went on to do his own work. Yin Tianling took the aircraft to the end of the 3rd area, put the aircraft away, and walked towards the 4th area on foot. She still understands the simple reason that CAI is not exposed. The atmosphere of the 4th district is completely different from that of the other districts. Everyone here is in a hurry and will look at people around him defensively. The architectural style is almost the same as that of the shanty towns on the earth. The sanitary conditions are extremely poor. The composite material of the nose mixes with the smell of rubbish, which makes people feel nauseous. Maybe the people in the slums are numb, and they don't react to the taste at all. Yin Tianling shrugged, his expression also relaxed. In any place, you need to adapt to what kind of environment. Besides, this is not the worst place she has ever seen. Thinking of the past, the corners of her lips curled into a straight line. He sank his eyes and strode towards her residence. Although she has shown an appearance of adapting, many people's unkind eyes still fall on her. In slums, it is not a fault to be born humble, but good looks is the greatest danger. Yin Tianling cursed in her heart, she actually forgot that she was no longer the ordinary face. Speeding up her pace, she finally reached her destination. The metal on the exterior of the house in front of me is rusty, and even the smart lock doesn't seem to be sensitive anymore. She quickly pressed the code on it, and walked into the room, isolating the unkind look in her eyes. Detecting someone in the house, the light comes on naturally. Yin Tianling leaned against the door and looked at the room. The house is small and pitiful, a living room, a bathroom, the bed is in the living room, the kitchen is the same, the walls are also decayed and old, and there is still a bit of moldy smell in the house. Recommend T Modern Essay Rebirth Campus, high price for wife. She was born again 10 years ago. Regardless of the 3 religions and the 9 Lu, or all kinds of monsters, ghosts and snakes, she can speak cleverly and deal with it freely. In the eyes of her friends, she is wanton and mad, she is cunning in the eyes of the enemy, in the eyes of her dearest relatives, she is well behaved and sensible, in his eyes. Acquaintance, he is noble and indifferent, she retreats, knowing each other, he is gentle and cunning, and she regards him as a close friend. In love, he turned into Uncle Nuan, she never left. When her brilliance bloomed in front of everyone, and when the men rushed in, he took her in his arms and smiled proudly, she is the Lord's person. In this article, men are strong and women are strong. Wen is already very fat, come and kill it. Faced with such an environment, she actually lowered her head and smiled, which is also the first smile from the heart since she was reborn in Interstellar. Although it is very shabby, it looks like a home at last. She has always been very vague about the concept of home. When on the Earth, she thought that the mercenary group was her home, and in the interstellar age, then the Earth was her home. Today, her definition of home is nothing more than a place that can make her feel at ease temporarily. After tidying up the room and putting away the daily necessities, she finally lay down on her little bed comfortably. She didn't use the environmental simulator, and the room was still rusty. It suddenly occurred to her that she hadn't seen what happened with the physical strengthening skill given to her by the system. She closed her eyes when she thought about it. Welcome back, Master. As soon as she entered the system space, Silver Wolf appeared in front of her shaking its head. Although I have watched it many times, the appearance of a wolf uttering words is really awkward. Can you become another appearance? For example, a human being. Yin Lang tilted his head and blinked humanely. Master, wait for me. After all, it disappeared. Seeing this, Yin Tianling secretly scolded herself for being mean. She came in for a matter of skill, and this time she completely wiped out the silver wolf. Fortunately, the silver wolf only disappeared for about a minute. Master, do you think this is okay? Yin Tianling twitched at the silver wolf who looked like a child in the sky. Leaving aside his pinkish jade appearance, let's just say that the hairy wolf ears in his silver white hair are so cute no matter how cute they look. Is this still the majestic silver wolf just now? Master, my current strength can only become a human of this age, but after the system upgrades, I can become bigger. I don't know if it's because of the change of appearance. Silver Wolf even speaks. Full of cuteness, the furry ears are still moving, and the pointed canines in the mouth look quite cute. Yin Tianling felt a little unbearable to look straight. Although the cute thing was good, she couldn't help but want to need it when she was so cute. In order to distract her, she quickly asked, Silver Wolf, the system gave it to me. What's the matter with that body strengthening? With a wave of Yinlang's chubby hand, her current information appeared on the light screen. Owner, Yin Tianling popularity, unheard of. Physical skills, D spiritual power, C charm, E ability, not activated system level, level 1 10% function, physical strengthening, 0, triggers this skill to increase the host's physical skills by 1 level within 10 minutes, with a cooling time of 24 hours. Can raise the level of physical skills? Not bad. Yin Tianling is satisfied with this. She can fight on her own, but this body can't exert her strength. Raising a level of physical skills will increase her capital for victory. Building. You still have some skill points that are not useful. Silver Wolf kindly reminded. Skill points? What is that? She remembered that it was a reward. Every time the system is upgraded, one skill point will be rewarded. Skill points can increase the degree and practicality of skills. Master, you can now add skill points to a physical strengthening. Yin Tianling nodded, adding skill points to the physical strengthening. As a result, the description of body strengthening has changed. Body strengthening, 1, triggers this skill to increase the host's body skills by 1 level within 15 minutes, and the cooling time is 24 hours. It turned out to be 5 more minutes of strengthening time. 5 minutes is pretty good in the game. Maybe it was because she felt that she was in a good mood, and Silver Wolf's big watery eyes became brighter. Master, the system also rewarded you with a dagger, don't you want to look at it? Dagger? She just lacked a handy weapon. With a flash of Silver Wolf's movements, a black dagger appeared in front of her eyes. Although this dagger wasn't her usual color, the humiliation it exuded made her energetic. She held the handle of the knife, and suddenly struck a spirit. This dagger is really cold. Even a mercenary like her who has killed many people feels full of blood when holding it. With excitement, she played a few smoothly in the air, and the black blade left a cold light. It really is a good weapon. Master, its name is aconitum. It is the toughest metal on our plane. It can cut the outer shell of the armor. Silver Wolf explained. Yes. Silver Wolf, give me physical training, I want to tame aconitum right away. Good weapons need to be runen, even if the aconite is very handy for her, but she needs to understand it better and suppress its killing air. Ever since, Yin Tianling took her new weapon to beg for abuse. The training process is painful, but the result is happy. After high-intensity training, Yin Tianling's physical skills finally reached sea level. If this incident were to be known to those scientific researchers, it would surely be shocked. Regardless of whether one's own talent can be improved or not, let's just say the time it takes to improve the level. It was only the second day from Yin Tianling to the Interstellar Age. She was lying profusely on the floor of the training room, the aconite in her hand had been pierced by the sweat. Although today's training was tiring, it made her feel heartily. She likes to use her body to its limit, and she likes to collapse to the thrill of weakness. Congratulations to the master for the upgrade of human surgery. The childlike Silver Wolf flew in front of Yin Tianling and placed repairing liquid and marrow lotion next to her. Master, you can start mental training. At this time, it's the best time for mental training. Yin Tianling raised his eyelids and sat up with difficulty. Where? Silver Wolf's chubby hand pointed, that's the mental training room. The gravity inside can be adjusted at will. You need to draw the interstellar map with mental power in it. Regardless of Silver Wolf's small appearance, but with great strength, he directly lifted Yin Tianling's collar and threw it in. I don't know how many times the gravity is set by the system. Yin Tianling, who was originally physically collapsed, felt unable to breathe for a moment, and his bones creaked under the pressure of gravity. When she opened her eyes, there was nothing but pitch black before her eyes. Master, close your eyes and use mental power to see. The reminding voice of Silver Wolf came into her ears clearly. Yin Tianling closed her eyes, and suddenly, her body shook. In her view, a sky full of stars appeared. Although the rays of the stars are faint, they are very bright. Use your mental power to touch the star closest to you, and then describe the entire starry sky. Silver Wolf kept teaching her. She tried to touch the stars next to her mentally, but it was very difficult, as if there were many barriers. She frowned, but didn't give up and moved on. She didn't know how long she had been moving forward, the sweat on her head had been evaporated by the air, little by little. Finally, she touched the star. In an instant, the faint star emitted a dazzling light, and the light also gave her a little strength. This is mental power. Yin Tianling felt like he had opened a new world and continued to explore. The silver wolf outside the training room showed a gratified smile. The smile was not the soft cuteness that Yin Tianling had seen, but the vicissitudes of life and complexity that violated the sense of harmony. He touched the mysterious and complicated totem on his forehead, and whispered softly, "She must be able to. Everyone has his own secret, so does he, besides, he is still a big secret. Rose, is that woman really that beautiful? In the dark night, there are always some restless people. For example, the few people who are now gathering in front of Yin Tianling's gate. Of course. I promise." The man named Rose was very thin, but his sinister triangular eyes made people look very uncomfortable. The strongest brown-haired man among the four squeezed his big fist. "Rose, if you dare to lie, I will kick your ass." Rose trembled. "I really saw her walk in with my own eyes. OT, how can I feel wrong? How can a beautiful woman come to the 4th district? Will there be fraud?" "Ron, the brown-haired," said to the big OT. The man with no hands looked at Lon with disdain. "If you are afraid, you can go home and go to sleep." "Hey! I'm not afraid. I just want to be safe." Ron waved his hands unhappy. "Enough! Isn't it just a little girl? After finishing this ticket, we can have a good time for a while." Otter spit out, clenched the metal hammer in his hand, and fiercely faced Yin Tianling's door. Smashed down. The shabby smart lock instantly turned into a pile of scrap iron. Otter kicked open the door triumphantly, and rushed in with the other 3. "Welcome." The 4 of them did not expect that the owner of the house was sitting on the sofa with a relaxed expression, looking at them coldly with cold eyes, and the black hair tips were still dripping, and it seemed that he had just come out of the bathroom. She had expected that life would not be so peaceful, because when she moved here, the names of those who followed her were hostile red. Now these people are even more red and black. Otter was dumbfounded, but he didn't expect that this woman was indeed beautiful, and how could the women in the 4th district be so tender? "Get rich! Get rich!" The Onirmed man stared at Yin Tianling, swallowing droolingly. Rose with wicked eyebrows chuckled, "Hurry up and catch her." Otter completely regarded Yin Tianling as a vase woman with no power to bind a chicken, and rushed up with his 3 brothers. Yin Tianling's eyes were gloomy, his palm shook, and the aconite fell into her hand. The guy sent to practice hands, how could she not? That enchanting posture was like a ribbon, which shuttled between the 4 men. Interesting. Otter didn't expect that Yin Tianling would have a second time, and his heart sank, so he attacked her even harder. Fighting with 4 people, if it were on the earth, Yin Tianling would be easy to do, but in the Interstellar, her physical skills are flawed, and the human skills that attacked her are obviously better than her. That Otter, I am afraid they have reached the Blevel standard. It is a scum for a person with Blevel ability to not do a good job. Holding the black head, she stabbed out horizontally, and at the same time a back kick kicked Ron out of the sneak attack. The Onirmed man who was stabbed by her black head was gloomy and attacked her frantically. Otter suppressed her movements everywhere, and for a while, she was in a stalemate. If she spends it with them, she will end up in danger. "Silver Wolf, activate the body to strengthen." She pressed her heart hard, and instructed Silver Wolf in her mind. Yin Lang got the order, and as soon as the skill was activated, Yin Tianling felt comfortable all over, as if he had been beaten with blood, full of energy. It feels so good to be able to show your best kung fu. Yin Tianling's work is getting faster and faster, and the aconites cut their flesh and blood again and again, not much better than cutting tofu. "Go to hell!" Lon, who was slowing down, slapped her angrily. His fist really looked like something. Yin Tianling's lips curled up with a sneer, "It's too slow." After saying that, she simply turned her head to avoid his attack, and then pierced his chest with her right hand without hesitation. Lon snorted, and hot blood spurted out of his heart, but Yin Tianling flashed so fast that it did not fall on her, but the hapless Rose was not so lucky. Not only was he splashed with blood, but also his throat was cut by the aconite that Yin Tianling pulled out. Two brothers died in such a blink of an eye. Otter's eyes reddened too. With a roar like a lion, he rushed to Yin Tianling and smashed the metal hammer in his hand. Yin Tianling's eyes widened, and he grabbed Otter's arm and slid past him along the Qiao Jin. The hammer fell on the wall and a deep pit appeared. Before she could breathe a sigh of relief, the Onirmed man quickly attacked the back of his head. Without thinking about it, Yin Tianling raised the aconite head and blocked the metal stick in his hand. Can a dagger block his polymer metal stick? The Onirmed man looked at her mockingly, and waited until she was stabbed by his dagger. In the next second, he won't be able to laugh. The aconite in between cut off his metal stick as easily as cutting cloth. With a clang, one end of the stick fell to the ground, and the Onirmed man looked silly. How can I be stunned by the move? Yin Tianling sent out aconite immediately and cut his throat as well. At this moment, she was the only one in the house facing Otto. Otter really didn't expect Yin Tianling to be a hard idea, but now he can't stand him back. He swung a metal hammer and quickly hit Yin Tianling. He deserved to have level physical skills. A heavy metal hammer was as easy as a toy in his hand. Yin Tianling stared at Otter's movements, dodge appropriately every time. Master still has 5 minutes. Silver Wolf reminded. Yin Tianling squinted his eyes, it was almost time. With a sinking heart, she took the initiative to attack. Like a viper waiting for an opportunity, she stared at every flaw in Otto's moves. Every time the aconite moves out, it leaves a deep wound that can reach bones. Now they are also grade B, how could she be suppressed in this way? It's been slack recently. Yin Tianling's pupils turned dark, and his whole person was like a humanoid weapon without any emotions. For Otter, she was completely transformed into a person, something less emotional than a robot. The dead silence bursting out of the pupils made people breathless, seduced the deepest fear in people's hearts. Suddenly, there was a pain in his chest. Looking down, there was a black dagger in his chest, and his metal hammer had become metal scraps and scattered on the ground. So horrible! Who is this woman? At the last moment of death, he was deeply afraid of her. Time is up. At the same time, her physical strengthening skills have also ended. Yin Tianling only felt a little slack in his whole body, and the strengthening of his body still had some side effects. What surprised her happened again. Those corpses lying on the ground disappeared, and something exploded on the ground like explosive equipment. She went to check and received the system prompt. Ding! Congratulations on slaying 4 opponents, and you have obtained all the other party's total credit points of 2,137, 100 experience, and 2 bottles of repair fluid. Yin Tianling twitched the corners of his mouth. Actually, she is in the game, right? It's too illusory. Not only does it automatically refresh the corpse, it can also explode things. However, this skill is really a necessary skill for killing and surpassing people, and you don't even need to deal with corpses. After checking the time, she took another bath, threw 104 out, and asked him to repair the broken door lock. She went to Xingwang to learn by herself. After all, now she can only touch the mecha in Xingwang. 104 looked at the broken door with humanized helplessness in his eyes, so he had to buy a new smart lock from Starnet, but when he saw the balance of Missy's account, he was a little puzzled. Why did the balance of the eldest lady's account increase instead of a lot? What happened when he was put into the space button? As the senior butler of the eldest lady, 104 expressed distress about this. Yin Tianling did not go home for 2 days, and Han Yin finally couldn't sit still. He asked 103 to check Yin Tianling's bedroom and found that she actually showed signs of moving away. He also regretted a little at this time, regretting that he had said too much at the beginning. You must know that Yin Tianling, who had lost his memory, didn't know what he had done. Yin Tianling, who lost his memory, did have some of the hard temper of the Han family, and he really moved away. Han Yin was a little panicked. The league stipulated that he was only an adult at 25 years old, and Yin Tianling was still a minor. Where could she go to live? Besides, she knows nothing about amnesia. Even 104 is of no use. After all, 104 is a housekeeping robot. He immediately asked 103 to inquire about Yin Tianling's traces, but 103 indicated that his authority was insufficient. Han Yin just remembered that their deceased parents loved Yin Tianling very much. Although Yin Tianling's confidentiality level was S on the surface, he was actually upgraded to SSS, which was an alliance secret, and they did not have the authority to investigate. What to do? Although he doesn't like this sister, she is his own sister after all. Han Yin immediately contacted the patrol team and asked them to help investigate Yin Tianling's aircraft trajectory. The results made him even more uneasy. She went to the 3rd district. It's the most chaotic place in the capital star except for the 4th district. Han Yin finally couldn't sit still, got on his own aircraft and immediately went to find someone. While Han Yin was looking for someone, Yin Tianling had already boarded the public aircraft returning to the first area. She knew that she herself had been under scrutiny, and if she took out the luxurious flying machine, her life would be in danger. The stability that she was able to live in these 2 days still needs to be attributed to the 4 gangsters on the first day. Their disappearance has also successfully deterred those who were unkind to her. When she walked to the film and television city, she showed the work permit Zhang Bolao gave her, and she successfully entered the shooting location. The filming locations of the Interstellar Age do not need to capture the scenes one by one. With the simulator, you can directly type out what kind of venue you want on the simulator and simulate it in the room. Even though it is so simple, the filming crew of One Eternal Emperor also stood by many people. She has read the script. One Emperor through the ages tells the story of a frivolous prince who has gradually grown into a generation of famous emperors. The actor of the male number 1 is Oulu, the actor she met in the audition that day, and the female actor she played is also the most controversial brothel in this movie. That's right, she plays a female branch who sells an art and does not sell herself. This is why she was a little surprised at this character at first. She didn't expect the system to be quite heavy. After understanding, it turns out that the director of this play, Zhang Bolao, is a very famous director who specializes in shooting historical themes. He has an almost harsh pursuit of history. The films he shoots are shot in strict accordance with the historical records of the buildings and costumes. The most real thing is that as long as it is an ancient musical instrument that appears in the movie, what is played is not a synthetic sound, but a real thing. Real performance. Therefore, Zhang Bolao is also known as the master of historical restoration. No, Zhang Dao really found someone who can play the guqin? That's great. The prop master carefully held a long box for fear of damaging the objects inside. Chang Ji nodded, I heard that. Yes, Zhang Dao is still very excited. Tisk. The props master sucked a tooth flower. This guqin is something almost 10,000 years ago, and there are even inheritors. Do you think that person is from the ancient family? Are you talking about Miss Gu? Chang Ji looked excited. I don't know. The heroine of our movie is the queen, Miss Gu Qingyun. The Gu family is the largest family in the entire alliance, and it's one of the few. The purebred ancient earth people must have a rich background. In the entire alliance, the 2 people I admire most are our Admiral Han and Queen Gu Ying. The days when they are also called the double blades of the alliance seem to be still in sight. It's a pity that Miss Gu retired and chose to be actor. Listening to the conversation between the 2, Yin Tianling expressed lack of interest and had to stand at the corner of the corridor and chat with Silver Wolf in his mind. In the entire Interstellar, I am afraid that the only person she can be trusted is the Silver Wolf. After all, they are in the same spirit. When Oulu walked to the set, the first thing she saw was her indifferent and dazed. She seemed out of place in this world, she was watching coldly, like a total outsider. This sudden feeling made Oulu a little uncomfortable. People are all social animals, how can one live alone? Perhaps it was this strange emotion that made him uncontrollably walk towards Yin Tianling. Feeling the unfamiliar breath, Yin Tianling instantly raised his head vigilantly, his sharp eyes pierced directly on Oulu's body. Oulu was also taken aback by the look in her eyes, and she didn't understand why she was so defensive. You came very early. As the actor, he can naturally adjust his emotions quickly so that other people can't see his thoughts. Yin Tianling looked at Oulu. I have to say that the genes of the interstellar age are relatively good. The Han Yin she has seen is the kind of man who can be a male on Earth, and Oulu is a model of popular lovers. He has short flax hair, blue eyes with an intoxicating fragrance, his nose is upright, and his red lips naturally raise a proud smile. Today he is wearing a more casual style, khaki cropped trousers with black high-end leather shoes, and a burgundy plaid waistcoat over his white shirt. Several decorative gem chains on the waistcoat are shining. Leaning against the wall with one hand in his pocket, it is simply a natural luminous body. However, Yin Tianling is not a superficial woman, nor a woman dominated by hormones. It's because you all came late. The agreement was 8 o'clock in the morning, and now it's 8 and 5 o'clock. Hey? I didn't expect you to be serious. Oulu smiled, with a smile in his eyes. The entertainment industry is like this. The bigger the cards, the later they come. Very few people are almost on time. He paused. Pause, but you are very good like this. What Zhang Dao hates most is being late. Yin Tianling pursed his lips non-committal, and did not intend to continue the conversation. Oulu shrugged, but still said, you look a little lonely, it's not easy to mix in the entertainment industry like this. Yin Tianling raised his eyelids, but still didn't mean to answer. It's impolite. A man in a royal blue suit came up with Lan Hua's fingers, and his squiggling look was more tactful than a woman. You're the new actor? Don't you know that the senior has to answer when he speaks? Even his voice was feminine. Poppy. Oulu glanced at him, and said to Yin Tianling a little embarrassed, I'm sorry, Bobby is my agent, he speaks a bit sharply, but his heart is not bad. Yin Tianling looked at Bobby, and Bobby pinched her waist and looked at her as if she was imposing, with childish stubborn eyes in her eyes. This person is an arrogant girl, the identification is complete. Immediately Yin Tianling removed his eyes. Bobby thought that Yin Tianling was frightened by his aura, and was very satisfied to ignore her. Instead, he turned his head and said to Oulu with his bright red lips, Zhang Dao is asking you to go over and the startup ceremony is about to be held. Then he curled his lips, Hui! Gu Qingyun is so big, it hasn't come yet. Poppy. Oulu's eyes were sharp, just do our own thing. Bobby hummed twice, twisting his waist to follow Oulu. Oulu stepped back and returned to her soft look, Miss Yin, let's go together. Yin Tianling nodded, strode forward, surpassing them within 2 steps, and went further and further. Seeing that Bobby was about to have another attack, Oulu quickly grabbed him and said in a low voice, she has such a personality. It's rude. Bobby stomped, but... His eyes deepened, I really couldn't find her information. It seems that her information is very confidential. Oulu looked at her straight back and murmured, is it beyond the S grade? If so, he knew who she might be. After all, in Capital Star, the person whose name is Yin Tianling and whose information is more confidential than him is probably the one from the Han family. It seems that the rumors are really not credible. After thinking about it, Oulu had no waves on his face, and he followed Yin Tianling's pace and walked side by side with her. As the actor, Oulu and a strange woman came side by side, leaving the staff stunned. Who is this woman? How can you stand shoulder to shoulder with Ou Yingdi? Is she qualified? Zhang Shrike, who had been with the staff originally, saw Yin Tianling, his eyes lit up, and he took the initiative to greet him. Xiao Ou, Tianling, you are here. Oulu cooked with a respectful smile. And Yin Tianling didn't seem to like Zhang Bolao's nickname, but she didn't say it, nodded. Zhang Bolao didn't mind Yin Tianling's indifference at all. He has more than 70 pairs this year. In the era when the average age is 200 years old, he is only middle-aged. However, he can get married as long as he is an adult. Although the conception rate is low, he usually has children at his age. All have grown up. So in the face of the withdrawn Yin Tianling, he was as tolerant as his own children, not to mention that Yin Tianling still played the gukkan that had almost disappeared, which made him appreciate it even more. Xiao Yu, it's the first time Tianling has participated in filming. Take care of her. Zhang Bolao is kind, and he cherishes his talent. He doesn't have the air of a master. It is not surprising that Oulu can say such things. I will. After all, Lao Ji is my favorite woman in Mo Yan. In An Emperor Through the Ages in the middle, he played the male character, Mo Yan. The talk and laughter here made other actors think about Yin Tianling, and their attitude towards her became a little more subtle. She didn't walk through the back door? You look at that stinky face, how can she act? An actress bit her ear at the actor next to her. The actor's role is the male guard, and he shrugged, maybe, it's now G. That role is the most brilliant supporting role besides the heroine. Let a newcomer act, and director Zhang can rest assured. Let her go. When Miss Gu arrives, there will be a time when she has no place to show herself. The actress gave Yin Tianling angrily. I don't know if her eyes were too obvious. Yin Tianling turned her head instantly, her indifferent eyes shivered like ice cubes. At this time Zhang Shrike had already gone to debug the machine, and Yin Tianling was only around Oulu and Poppy. Oulu is an old man in the entertainment industry. He naturally knows some xiaojuju. He tilted his head and said soothingly to Yin Tianling, don't care about them, it's just a group of dragons. Yin Tianling retracted his eyes, it was not Oulu's comfort that worked, but the actress turned around. Ou Shao, you should put on makeup, Bobby reminded. Oulu nodded to Yin Tianling and went to her exclusive dressing room. Although he is interested in Yin Tianling, it doesn't mean that he is a good person and has to help her in everything. In the entertainment industry, one cannot stand firm and will be eliminated sooner or later. Yin Tianling is a newcomer to the three no's, no company, no agent, and no team. She herself doesn't know what to do next, what makeup, or changing clothes, and she doesn't even know where to go to the lounge. She stood alone, no one came up to help her, and no one took her actively. In the eyes of outsiders, she is pitiful. However, she herself does not think so. The experience of living on the earth told her that human xenophobia and jealousy are normal, and a person in an unfamiliar environment should be at peace. After all, do more and make more mistakes, and do less and make fewer mistakes. Isolated and helpless Yin Tianling was seen by those who were jealous of her, and she was very happy. The actress who had just started paying attention to her smiled sinisterly, grabbed the props master to whisper a few words, and was satisfied with the stand book. You're the one who played Lao Ji. The prop master frowned. He also thought that Yin Tianling was the kind who walked through the back door. After all, he had read the script. Lao Ji was a charming and enchanting woman. This actor looked that kind of indifferent and rigid. People, acting Lao Ji is simply a violent thing. Thanks to him so hard working on the props about Lao Ji. Yin Tianling looked at the unfriendly props master and nodded. Your clothes are in the number 3 lounge, you quickly put on your makeup and clothes, and the startup ceremony will begin immediately. The prop master has a very bad tone, and even sighs that this charming and natural Lao Ji will definitely be ruined. Yin Tianling lifted his steps and walked over to the number 3 lounge. As soon as she entered the lounge, the costumer hurried over, and the props master grabbed her. "Lucy, what are you doing?" The dresser named Lucy is a young woman with a small face with a big palm, but the whole circle knows that Lucy's clothes are the most suitable. Known as the right hand of God in the circle. Director Zhang asked me to teach the actors who played Lao Ji to wear clothes. Lucy has golden hair, perhaps because of anxiety, and her fair face is blushing. Lao Ji's clothes are made by me according to ancient books. Complex. Hey? That's it. But Lucy, you should go to lounge 4 first, there is a problem with the guard's clothing. The prop master shrugged helplessly. Lucy's eyes widened. God! Don't damage my clothes! She exclaimed and ran to the 4th lounge. The corner of the props master's lips evoked a touch of sarcasm. The guard's clothes did have some minor problems, but more often, he wanted to see Yin Tianling making a fool of himself and angering Lucy by wearing the wrong clothes. Don't blame him for being gloomy, after all, what he hates most is going through the back door. Moreover, in the entertainment industry, this is just a small trick. Besides Yin Tianling's side, when she entered the lounge, she saw the red dresses on the hangers, everything from her belly to outer clothes. There is a cosmetic bag in front of the makeup mirror. It seems that whether it is the interstellar age or the Earth, women like to make up, and things have not changed much. She faintly sneered. The prop artist was hostile to her just now, but not to the point of being hostile. In her eyes, his name is dark blue, which is a bit worse than red. She had seen so many people, the only one whose name was green turned out to be Zhang Dao, and the others were almost neutral blue, including Han Yin. She is not a hypocritical person, and there is no need for everyone to be friendly to her. After all, she has never treated people sincerely. She touched the gorgeous red neon clothes and nodded firmly. Since you are going to be a shadow queen, take it seriously. With the door locked, Yin Tianling took off the sportswear she was wearing. As time passed bit by bit, Oulu, who had finished putting on makeup, walked out of the lounge. It was a black brocade robe with a frantic 5-clawed golden dragon embroidered with golden silk thread. Oulu, who was in a bun, did not show any femininity at all. Instead, he had a handsome face like a crown jade with deep blue eyes. His eyes couldn't see the emotions clearly, and it was in line with the majesty and gloom of the protagonist Mo Yan at this stage. At this time, Oulu seemed to be the ink words of the eternal emperor, and walked over with majestic steps. No one dared to look directly at him. Although Zhang Bolao had already seen his appearance, he was even more relieved when he saw it at this time. As a sophisticated director, he doesn't want to make any mistakes in such historical films. Oulu is indeed the most suitable person to play Mo Yan. Director Zhang, how about it? As an actor, he knows when to enter the play and when to leave the play. Oulu who is not performing is just himself. Good. 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 After 3 good words, Zhang Dao's satisfaction can be seen. The other actors were also convinced. Although Oulu became the actor when he was only 30 years old, it was really not for nothing. There are real materials. Director Zhang, the startup ceremony is about to begin, right? Miss Gu hasn't come yet. Bobby pointed at Lanhua, the motherly voice made people feel uncomfortable. Zhang Dao did not answer him, because someone had already answered. Sorry, our mercenary group had some problems, so we were late. The voice was clear and sweet, with some melodious voices, as if it was the call of the lark in the woods. Everyone unanimously looked behind Bobby, and in an instant, everyone turned into an idiot. I saw the person who came here with a slim waist and a graceful posture. The purple ancient palace clothes were not bloated when worn on her body, but brought out the kind of royal grace and luxury. The complicated bun is blinding, and the luxurious steps and the golden hairpin follow her steps to outline the solemn taste. Look at her face again, it is really admiring. The water eyes were as gentle as spring water, but deep under the eyes was a noble fierceness. The full forehead was dotted with hair chains, and the vermilion lips under his handsome nose were dyed. At this time, everyone seemed to see the woman who could stand shoulder to shoulder with Emperor Mon, one eternal emperor, and was also the famous Queen Huimeng in history. Miss Gu's style is still the same. Oulu gave a gentleman's gift to Gu Qingyun with a smile. Gu Qingyun raised the corners of her lips. Qingyun is really honored to get a compliment from the actor Ou. Zhang Bolao chuckled, you young people don't want to be official. Qingyun rushed over as soon as he finished the mission. The makeup is all on the aircraft. Qingyun is ashamed. Gu Qingyun blessed her body like an ancient woman. Everyone was fascinated by the elegance of Gu Qingyun. Look, this is the queen of everyone, and this is the queen. That generous appearance is not comparable to a third-rate product. Director Zhang, since we are all here, let's start, said the jealous actress to Yin Tianling. Director Zhang looked at the time, well, it's almost there. He looked around the set and paused, where is Tianling? Oulu also looked around, but found no trace of Yin Tianling. Lucy, didn't I ask you to help Tianling? Zhang Shrike asked when seeing Lucy in the crowd. Lucy patted her head and said, oh. I forgot. I just forgot about the clothes after patching them up. It's so miserable. I'm going to check it out now. The clothes are hard to wear. While grumbling, he ran to the number 3 lounge. Gu Qingyun, who didn't know it, smiled slowly, Tianling. I'm a newcomer, playing as Lao Ji, a nice little girl. Zhang Shrike laughed. Gu Qingyun nodded and stopped speaking. Everyone's eyes were focused on Lucy's body, and when she was about to open the door of the 3rd lounge, the door was opened. Lucy looked at the person in front of her, opened her mouth wide in surprise, and lost her voice for a while. Yin Tianling frowned, wondering why this Lucy's name turned green in an instant. Did she know the original owner? Can you please? What are you doing in blocking her way? Lucy moved away mechanically, and Yin Tianling, who had finished applying makeup, appeared in front of everyone. Everyone was stunned and watched Yin Tianling walk over. She is full of temptation like walking hormones. The red outer garment is full of vulgar clothes of the same color. The neckline opens to the upper part of the chest. The white and delicate collarbone seems to be telling the silent invitation, as she follows her steps. Slender and straight legs are exposed from under the neon clothes, a touch of white and fiery red, the visual impact makes the population dry. The most exquisite thing is her makeup. Her long black hair is coiled into a simple bun, which is simply fixed with a blue hairpin, and a few strands of hair fall on her shoulders. Her eyes fell on that enchanting face, her eye makeup boldly used red, and her long eyeliner was drawn to the hairline. The eyebrows of the finishing touch actually painted a 3-petal flower with red paint. Although her current expression is incompatible with her makeup, just her appearance is enough to surprise everyone. Yes. That's right. This is the Lao Ji in my imagination. Zhang Bolao's expression of excitement made her look more pleasing to Yin Tianling. Gosh! Except you, I really can't think of anyone who can play Lao Ji. Yin Tianling nodded, and said coldly, I'm overwhelmed. Suddenly, she felt a strange sight. Turning her head, she met with a delicate and elegant face, as if she was born with extravagance, but she also felt her fierceness, which was the smell of blood baptism. Gu Qingyun didn't expect Yin Tianling's senses to be so keen, but she didn't have any embarrassment. Instead, she smiled openly, hello, I am Gu Qingyun. It turns out that she is Gu Qingyun, the queen. Yin Tianling. The two shook their bare hands and they separated quickly. She retracted her hand and glanced at the color of her name thoughtfully. Tianling, I was surprised by you too. Oulu shook his head with a low smile. He didn't expect that he had seen so many beauties, and was still taken aback by her appearance just now. It seems that when they are acting in a rivalry, he must go all out. At this time, Lucy ran over with a look of idiot, and grabbed Yin Tianling's arm. I will be your exclusive designer in the future, okay? Have you worn ancient costumes before? You are all dressed right. 2. Incredible. Yin Tianling stared at her unhappily and took her hand, and said coldly, let go. She knows that she is now at the wastewood level, but can someone just pop out and remind her that she is wasteful, okay? Lucy let go obediently, still looking excited. Really? You are the first person to wear this dress so vividly. God knows how much I don't want to take this dress out. But I see you wearing it so it looks good, I think it's worth it. It turned out that this dress was designed by her a few years ago, but she has never found anyone who can wear her charm. As a costumer, there is nothing more happier than seeing that your work is worth the money. Oulu, who was next to him, saw Yin Tianling's cold color, and said to Zhang Bolao quickly, Director Zhang, shall we start? With an order from Zhang Bolao, the opening ceremony finally began. Although Lucy was very unwilling, she could only obey the order. The opening ceremony is very simple. Following the opening ceremony of the ancient earth, everyone puts on the incense, unveils the red cloth, and takes 2 photos, and it is complete. There are very few parts to be filmed today. One is Mo Yan and Hui Meng's movie ending at the end of the world, and the other is Mo Yan and Lao Ji's audition meeting. Gu Qingyun's time is tight, so the first shot was theirs. The set is set up as a court hall, and you can see Zhang Shrike's intentions, because the set is almost the same as the TV series that Yin Tianling saw on the earth. You know, there is the Forbidden City on the earth as a reference, and there are only boring written records. Zhang Shrike, who has entered the working state, is no more kind, but rather selfless. 3, 2, 1, start. On the camera, Hui Meng wears palace attire, her delicate face is solemn and majestic. Mo Yan walked over from one side and looked down at her beautiful face. The Emperor Yan, who was above the court, also became Rao's hero at this time. Menger, time is so fast. We two have been married for 3 years. Up. Hui Meng looked at the man in the bronze mirror, raised her red lips, put on the earrings, and said softly, yes, can you draw my eyebrows? Mo Yan looked at her face, nodded slowly, raised the eyebrow pencil, and drew lightly between her eyebrows skillfully. Yes, if you can get her back. Menger, you are the most suitable person for me. He put down his eyebrow pencil lightly and extended a warm and powerful hand to her. She is the past, and you are the future. Hui Meng looked at him and finally smiled happily. Menger, come with me to admire thousands of miles of rivers and mountains together. Mo Yan took Hui Meng's hand, opened the door, and walked to the Chao Tang Hall, smiling together with the call of long live from the 100 officials. Card. Zhang Shrike nodded. This scene is the end of the movie. It's a very important scene. I didn't expect the two of them to be able to do it in one go. As expected of the actor and actress. Gu Qingyun stepped down from the platform. Director Zhang, is it okay? Very good. Zhang Bolao was full of praise. Qingyun, don't leave, take a few photos for publicity later. Gu Qingyun nodded. Zhang Bolao turned his head to look at Oulu. The next scene is the scene where you and Tianling were confronted. Isn't it okay? Don't worry. He has studied emotion conversion professionally. Okay. The set designer changed the scene. The props designer set up the Gukin. The next scene is filmed. The loudspeaker transmitted his voice to everyone on the set. Gukin? Is the master who can play the Gukin coming? The prop master's eyes are piercing. It's an honor to see such a master. Gu Qingyun, who was sitting and resting, also raised her beautiful eyebrows. It was the first time she saw Gukin. Attention to all departments. The first shot of the second scene, start. Entering the camera, Yin Tianling changed his appearance in an instant. There was no indifference on his face. Instead, he turned into a charming and enchanting face. Her full red lips raised an unruly arc. Following her charming steps, she acted as an outer garment. Her red gauze slipped quietly on her shoulders, revealing her white shoulders. Today is Mo Yan's wedding day. At this time, I am afraid that the person is doing red tape, right? Lao Ji's slender jade hand picked up the outer garment at will, lay on the chaise longue, pulled out the skirt under her body, propped her head with one hand, picked up the white jade bottle on the table and faced her small mouth directly pour in the wine syrup. The transparent liquid slipped from her cheeks to her neck, with a little sadness and melancholy. Ka. Makeup artist repairs makeup. Zhang Shrike awakened everyone and let them know that this is acting, not true. These just a few actions completely convinced those who thought that Yin Tianling would not be able to act. After all, a person who can bring them into the play is the most powerful actor. Lucy stared at Yin Tianling. She recorded all the plots of Lao Ji just now. You can enjoy it when you go back. As soon as Tianling enters the acting state, the whole person will become that role. I don't know why she feels like a living Lao Ji. Zhang Bolao turned his head and said to Gu Qingyun. Gu Qingyun smiled, she is a rare actor. Zhang Bolao nodded. He has seen more celebrities and watched many costume dramas, but few people can really act like an ancient man. Even Oulu is acting an ancient man, and Yin Tianling, she seems to be a lively ancient person, not acting. In fact, he guessed half of it. Yin Tianling can also be regarded as half an ancient person. In the Earth Age, there are many costume dramas, and he has learned about it with ears and eyes. In the Interstellar Age, history is out of touch, and the ancients are just a brief glimpse in literature. The director is ready. The makeup artist walked over with the makeup case, and she had already put on Yin Tianling's slightly drunk makeup. Lao Ji may have 2 red clouds on her face because she is not intoxicated by alcohol. She stumbled down from the chaise longue, held a writing brush, and wrote a horizontal line on the plain white rice paper. Maybe it was because she was drunk. Her pen was shaking. With a bit of anger from her daughter's family, she threw down the pen, but instead got enough of the pipa and wanted to play twice. Pipa, hee hee. Perhaps thinking that the sound of the pipa was too tragic, she lowered her holding hand and put the pipa aside. She fell in front of the piano case. The breeze blowing in the window made the red curtains flying in the room. She smiled drunk and put her bare hands on the gukkan. With the crisp sound of the gukkan, she closed her eyes slightly and sang, "The phoenix and the phoenix come back to their hometown, traveling all over the world in search of their phoenix. There has never been a time when you have nothing to do with you. There is a beautiful lady in the boudoir, and the room is very poisonous to my intestines. Why is it a mandarin duck? Huangzi lives from me, and has to entrust her as a concubine forever. Friendship, understanding, and harmony, who knows each other in the middle of the night? Both wings rise and fly high, without feeling my thoughts make me sad." This song Feng Kai Huang stopped the whole time. Everyone, whether they were hostile to her, liked her, or jealous of her, was amazed by the scene of her playing the piano and singing. Under the red curtains dancing in the sky, a woman dressed in red plays the piano and sings, which seems to be a miracle that has traveled through time and space. It turned out that the gukkan master they were thinking of was this cold-hearted newcomer actor. Go to the back door? No. People with such talents still have to go through the back door? It wasn't until Yin Tianling finished singing the minor tune of the song Feng Kai Huang, and did not wait for Oulu to play, she released her hand and looked at Oulu, who was waiting slightly unhappy. At this glance, she unexpectedly discovered that Oulu's name had changed from blue to friendly green. As if the singing of Zional stopped, everyone was able to react. Nothing is more exciting than Zhang Shrike. He always thought that Yin Tianling just knew gukkan, but he didn't expect that she could also speak ancient Chinese. Oh my god! He must pull her into their ancient cultural association. Tianling. He hurried over, holding her shoulder excitedly. Are you interested in joining the Ancient Culture Research Association? We welcome talents like you. Before Yin Tianling refused, the propaganda team leader came over and said, Director. Miss Yin. The paragraph just now was amazing. Can it be put on the official website of the propaganda? I guarantee that there will be many people who will support it. Yin Tianling frowned, seeming to disagree. Master, you must agree. This is a good opportunity to increase your popularity. Silver Wolf jumped in the system excitedly, and his furry ears moved with excitement. Yin Tianling pursed her lips, looked at the green-named propaganda team leader, and said lightly, whatever. Zhang Bolao naturally agreed, and the leader of the propaganda team left happily. Oulu played, he didn't take the play. According to the script, Mo Yan should play when Lao Ji played a few sentences, but Oulu was still standing in place after she finished playing, so she didn't. I'm sorry, I'm out of the scene. Oulu came over, and he had recovered his clarity at this time, but Yin Tianling found that he had spoken to her a little more inexplicably soft. Zhang Bolao smiled and patted Oulu on the shoulder. I have worked with you so many scenes. The first time I saw you off the scene, it seems that Tianling is indeed very talented. I don't blame you, even I have forgotten. Up. Oulu smiled, seeing Yin Tianling's red face inadvertently, as if there was a burst of electricity passing through in his heart. Okay. Let's continue. All departments are in place. Zhang Shrike clapped his hands and signaled to continue. On the other side, Han Yin sat exhausted on the sofa at home. He has been searching all morning, and there is still no whereabouts of Yin Tianling, as if she had evaporated. This is something that has never happened before. He originally wanted to locate 104 based on the source code, but was told by 103 that 104 blocked the location. Yin Tianling is really missing this time. Even if he doesn't want to disturb his elder brother, he must tell him about it. With an attitude of shame and plea, he connected to the communication of his elder brother Han Ming. The waiting symbol on the light screen made his anxiety expand continuously. I even complained that I was too careless. Even the eldest brother asked him to take care of Yin Tianling's task well. It really failed the expectations of his most respected elder brother. In about half a minute, the communication was connected, perhaps because of the inconvenience on Han Ming's side. He didn't turn on the projection, and Han Yin didn't know Han Ming's emotions. What's the matter, Yin? Han Ming's voice was his familiar indifference and seriousness, but it was this voice that made Han Yin's uneasy heart relieved a lot. Brother, I'm sorry. He first admitted that he was wrong. This is his elder brother's education policy all the time. No excuses are needed. Wrong is wrong. Han Ming didn't speak, but Han Yin knew that it was him who asked him to continue speaking. Yin Tian. He thought that his elder brother didn't like his naming of Yin Tianling, so he immediately changed his words. Sister, she is missing. Han Ming was very quiet over there, so quiet that he could reflect on whether he was really too much towards Yin Tianling. Before the eldest brother was angry, he explained everything that had happened in the past few days, including Yin Tianling's memory loss and almost died. After he finished talking here, Han Ming finally spoke. Ian, why didn't you tell me this as soon as possible? His voice was still indifferent and flat, but Han Yin had already heard that he was carrying some unpleasant emotions. I don't want to disturb you. Your side is very busy and dangerous. He pressed his lips. Is the eldest brother disappointed in him? This is not a reason, Ian. In this world, I have only two relatives, you and Sanmei. Why did this sentence make him a little sad? I know you don't like the third sister, but you must remember that no matter how bad she is our sister. You can educate her, you can reprimand her, but you must never ignore her. I'm sorry, big brother. Although he wanted to tell Yin Tianling's misdeeds, he also knew that it was not the time to say these things. The third sister. Keep looking, I'll be home by tomorrow at the latest, that's it. Han Ming said. He hung up the communication. What Han Yin didn't know was that after the elder brother Han Ming, who looked like a of war in his eyes, hung up the communication, his strong palm pushed open the door of the treatment cabin, sat up, showing his strong upper body, and pulled off the white on the table. The standard military uniform shirt is put on the body, and the knuckles of the fingers are neatly buttoned. Get me ready for the aircraft. He whispered to the man beside him who was disapproving in the grey military uniform. Sir, your body. Han Ming's personal medic, Naz, said worriedly as he watched the interruption of the treatment cabin. At this time, Han Ming had walked out of the treatment cabin and buttoned the last button of the black military uniform jacket. It's okay. Naz shook his head. Knowing this man's temper, he didn't go on, but he gave him a military salute and turned around to prepare the aircraft for Han Ming. At the same time, a topic in Xinguang Entertainment's gossip area instantly became a hot topic. This post goes like this: one eternal emperor is blinding. Restore the most beautiful Gukhan master in ancient times. The number of clicks on the post has surpassed 100 million. In the post is a video, which is exactly the section where Yin Tianling played and sang Feng Kai Huang. With the increase in click-through rate, the comments will also be maxed out. Nan Aman, wow! It's so beautiful. Who is the beauty of popular science? HHJJ4586, really bright and blind. So artistic. It's over. I fell in love with her instantly. Hualu Shui, what is the name of this song? Why can't I understand the words? I am cold. Go back upstairs. It's an old saying, it's difficult. The goddess BJH, ooh. Tell me who she is. I fan her. P.S. One Eternal Emperor seems to be Zhang Bolao's new movie. For a time, Yin Tianling had countless fans. Happy Mid-Autumn Festival. Dang dang dang. One more chapter. Mwah.